command, supported by the Wales extremism and counter-terrorism.
Evans reporting there. Nearly 8 minutes past 5. Now, when I say the name Iceland, do you think of this?
It's oh so quiet. Shh, shh. It's oh so still.
Or does Iceland mean this to you?
Good food, great value.
At Iceland, it's heads you win, tails you win. Good food, great value.
Heads you win, tails you win. That's why moms go to Iceland.
Well, the supermarket chain Iceland, headquarters here in Wales on Deeside, of course, is now facing a legal battle at the European Patent Office with Iceland, the country. Icelandic businesses say they're restricted on their use of the word Iceland because the supermarket controls the rights. Well, earlier I spoke to Begtora Halldórsdóttir, a lawyer from Business Iceland.
We, along with the government of Iceland and Promote Iceland, which is a public-private partnership established to improve the competitiveness of Icelandic companies in foreign markets, we are just looking into the matter and considering our options. The fundamental issue in itself is, as you said, not the fact that Iceland has chosen to name itself Iceland, which just unfortunately happens to be also the name of our country, but it has received a EU trademark for the word Iceland in several categories. And we're not just talking about the store's logo that we know well. We have an Iceland in Iceland as well, the white on red letters, but we're talking about the 7-letter word Iceland. And we are looking into what possibilities we have, whether there is some sort of cancellation action that can be taken on the registration of this trademark, because we do feel that it could harm the possibilities of Icelandic businesses that wish to go abroad and market their products and services in relation to their place of origin.
So let me just be clear. Do you want the supermarket to change its name or just drop its control of the name?
We are just, the most important thing for us is, we just feel that it is very important that Icelandic businesses are not negatively harmed by the fact that the supermarket wishes itself to name itself Iceland. So at this point in time, we are just looking at the name itself being trademarked, which we find difficult to come to terms with. That somebody can trademark the name of a place without any relation to that place and against the will of those that inhabit that place.
So you're not calling on the supermarket as things stand at the moment to change its name?
No.
Yeah, well, that's what Business Iceland had to say earlier on the programme. Chris Sherliker, a partner in the London law firm Silverman Sherliker, an expert in trademark and branding law, joins us now. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
It's a great headline, this story, and a fascinating idea, but is it quite a complicated case, really?
It's a wonderful headline, and I think it is quite complicated. There's nothing in law which stops the registration of country names as trademarks, and once they are registered as trademarks, it confers an exclusive right to use the name in the course of trade. And Iceland Foods have had this registered for decades, and in fact they've been using it for almost half a century as a trademark, and they have it registered as a word mark and as a logo mark for many, many different categories of products in the retail sector. But it's actually, what I'm finding difficult to understand is exactly what the Icelandic government want. And I didn't understand from the last interview exactly what they want. They don't want the supermarket to rebrand, but they don't want the supermarket to stop Iceland companies using the name Iceland to promote their products in the UK and Europe. But the whole point about trademark law is that you shouldn't be allowed to use a country name to designate the geographical origin of products. So I don't really see how Iceland companies can use Iceland as a trademark to designate products coming from Iceland. That's completely contrary to standing law in the UK and indeed across the world, really.
But, don't they have a point? I can only imagine if there was a foreign supermarket had branded themselves Wales and were marketing themselves all over the world as Wales and using that as a trademark, we'd feel pretty annoyed here.
You may feel annoyed, but there are many, many examples of countries that are registered as trademarks. Greenland is a registered trademark. Brazil is a registered trademark. But what you can't do is register a country name as a trademark for categories of products that are associated with that country. So, for instance, Brazil is registered for cosmetics, but it's not registered for alcoholic drinks because Brazil has a big whiskey industry and they couldn't register it for that. Same with Jamaica, registered for cosmetic products by Procter & Gamble, I think, but they couldn't register it for rum products. But then, America is a registered trademark for cars, and, it's one of the biggest car manufacturers in the world. So there are many examples, and I don't really see why Iceland should be so upset about it.
A bit of a gift for lawyers, though, I'd imagine.
I'm afraid so, yes. That's what it sounds like.
Is it something that's likely to get as far as the courtroom, or could this be settled between the two parties, do you think, before then?
I would hope, and from the noises that are coming out of the various spokespeople for Iceland, I would hope that they would negotiate what we call a coexistence agreement, whereby both parties can use the mark under agreed terms without the threat of infringement actions.
Well, we'll see where we go with this one, but it's certainly put a bit of a smile on our faces on Friday afternoon to compare the two and hear a bit of music as well. Why not? That's Chris Sherliker there, a partner in the London law firm Silverman Sherliker.
14 minutes past 5, you're listening to Good Evening Wales here on BBC Radio Wales. The Syrian government has launched fresh airstrikes on the city of Aleppo hours after announcing a campaign